afternoon, and thank you for coming to our show. We apologize that we're a little bit behind. We had an emergency on our team, and just wanted to send some special love out to the author of The Pursuit of Purpose, Dr. Sandra Brooks. She just had a loss in the family, and I'm asking that you send out prayers and love to Dr. Sandra Brooks. So with that being said, we thank you for being here. So please come on in, get in where you fit in, because I always have room around my table for you. And as you come in, go ahead and put a one in the comment below. Let us know that you're here. Let us know what your name is and where you're coming in from, okay? Let us know what your name is and where you're coming in from, because we're always delighted to have you here. So today I have an awesome show, and this is a special edition show because, as you know, we are in the wake of the arising from COVID. Many states are coming out of the lockdown and people are re-entering into society. And we want to talk about what that's going to mean. I've had so many people contact me and even talk about it on other shows. What is that going to mean as we emerge from the lockdown? We're also going to share some information with you on what that's going to look like. And we're also going to ask some key questions and give you some key answers to why is this happening in certain areas and not in others? What about different socioeconomical levels of people who may be at a lower income? What's going on in those communities, and what's going on in our affluent communities as well? So we're going to talk about that, and we just might touch a little bit on what the church is doing to help us as we make these transitions. Okay, so please come on in. And when you come on in, go ahead, make sure you have something nice to drink. Today, I'm drinking a little lemon tea with fresh lemons in the tea and a little ginger. So let me take a sip. Today, I have some fabulous folks on the broadcast today. I've got the millennial mindset mogul, Mr. Milton Gore himself. You'll be seeing him today, and you'll be able to ask him some questions because he's going to give us the thought process from the millennial point of view. And then we have the amazing CEO of Con to Dons, Mr. Orrin Harris. He is phenomenal. He's going to talk about what it's looking like for our folks behind the wall and why it's so important for us not to forget our folks behind the wall. And many of you may say, Lotus, what do you mean about the folks behind the wall? I mean, our people who are incarcerated. Both women and men are incarcerated in this country in record numbers. Now, we've been wondering, what are they experiencing behind the wall amid COVID-19? So again, the phenomenal CEO of Cons to Dons, Mr. Orrin Harris, is going to talk about that. And then we have the financial strategist. He's with us as well. He's going to be talking to us about COVID from a financial standpoint and giving us great tips and nuggets that's going to help us with our finances during the lockdown and as we emerge from the lockdown. This is no other than Noah MacArthur. So get ready, buckle down, and let me tell you, make sure you get a pen and a pad because you need to write these nuggets down. And while you're getting your pen and your pad, again, get something nice to drink as we get started with our show. What you don't know can kill you. Here we go. and thank you for joining us. Go ahead and tell a friend to come on in and log in and share this, not just with your friends and your family or your co-workers, but also share this with your frenemies because they need to get this great information today. And the first person I have that's going to grace us is none other than the CEO of Cons and Dons, Mr. Orrin Harris. Hey, Orrin, how you doing, dear?
Hey, how you doing, Lotus? How you doing? Appreciate you and thank you for having me on your show.
Thank you. I'm so happy to have you. You are a superpower of knowledge, and I'm so happy that somebody has taken up the torch to talk to people about our folks who are behind the wall. As you know, I spent 7 years working for the prison system, and oftentimes I would hear Steve Harvey say on my drives in every morning, let us not forget the people behind the wall. Let us not forget to send them some love. And I'm so happy to have you here today on the show to kind of tell us a little bit about what's going on behind the wall, because you definitely have personal information on that. So can you please further introduce yourself to our viewers and tell them a little bit about you, and then we'll get right on into this wonderful PowerPoint that you've designed for us.
Yes. Again, Ms. Lotus, thank you for having me. My name is Mr. Orrin Harris. I'm the founder of Cons and Dons, which is a magazine coming out soon. It focuses on telling those redemptive stories of ex-convicts, whether they're male and female. Their success stories, the hardship when they came home, they had to face all the things they lost while they were there, the social interactions after their release. And I just want to tell a better side, a better story of ex-con. I, of course, if many know already, I put it out there. I spent some time in prison. I was released in 2015. I've been serving nearly 13 years, 12 years, 9 months, 11 to be exact, for crimes, things that I committed. So I am passionate about prison reform, as well as helping inmates, assisting inmates, telling those stories and those truths about, ex-cons or our loved ones. So many people say that, why should we care about them? They committed crimes. But let me give you some basic facts right quick before I start. 95% of all prisoners will eventually be released one day. These people, men and women, are your brothers or sisters or cousins, aunts, mothers, grandfathers, So, and then there are so many people behind those walls who are actually innocent of their crimes. How many times you've heard stories of men who spent 5, 10, 15, 20 years, 30 years in prison only to come back those years later and be exonerated. Many men and women have been sent to death row and actually executed, and it's been determined that, they were innocent. So, my connection and my feelings about, our men and our women, our brothers and sisters behind those walls, they run deep, because I've been there, and I know the feeling, so we should care. Again, 95% of them will be released one day into our communities, and how they come home, what they learned, how they were treated when they were there, will play an important fact and a role on how they matriculate and get back into society and survive. So, today we're speaking about the COVID and how it affects men and women behind the walls. And I just need to say that there's a broader trend here that shows that COVID-19 is not only an equalizer. It's not an equalizer, it's a magnifier, because it has exposed so many cracks in our system here in America. Healthcare inequality, pay inequality, housing, you name it. But this pandemic is nothing new to Black and Brown America. It's nothing new. Let's think about homelessness in America. As I just stated, the healthcare inequalities in America, which often affect Blacks and Hispanics the most. Educational inequality, the educational gap. So when you don't have those things in place, and when those things aren't prevalent and present in your life, we are more susceptible to have heart disease, pre-existing conditions, things that basically this virus here explode within our communities as well as within our body. As of April 18th, 30% of all COVID patients are African American. And we make up 14% of the United States population. Hear me again, 30% of all COVID patients, 30% American, and we make up 14% of the total US population. Latinos or Hispanics, 27% of all COVID cases, 16% of the population. Now, when we think to, whites or Caucasians, however you want to use it, they are 73% of the total United States population, but only make up 26% of the COVID cases. And those numbers, they change from day to day and they can vary. So we need always be aware of the numbers, who it affects, and how it affects us. When we
and we may be having a little bit of technical difficulty on your side there, Orrin, but I love what you're saying and what you're sharing. And I want to let everybody know the CEO of Constadons is with us today, Mr. Orrin Harris, and he is sharing some excellent information about what it means to have our loved ones behind the wall, what it means for us to understand that this COVID has become a magnifier. It's magnifying that there are some outstanding numbers of people who are affected, not only in our regular society, but also in our incarcerated society. And he's with us today, and he's going to share some great information about what that looks like, how it is affecting our folks behind the wall. As he said, about 95% of all prisoners may be released one day, and many of them are our family members. So have we stopped to think about how is COVID-19 affecting our family members? How is this affecting us in our communities? And how is this affecting us all over the planet? But most importantly, how will we rise above the pandemic and make sure that we are prepared both mentally, physically, and financially, as well as spiritually? And those are some of the bases for our discussion today. And so while we're waiting for Mr. Harris to come back, I'm going to go ahead and introduce you to one of the top financial strategists in the land here today. He is here with us to help us talk about how we overcome after the COVID, but also what can we do right here in COVID. So what we're going to do is I'm going to go ahead and have Mr. Noah MacArthur introduce himself to you, and then I'm going to bring back on the CEO of Constadons, and we're going to get right into his PowerPoint that he so wonderfully made. So Noah, good to see you. Thank you for jumping on in. Since we had a little technical difficulty with Orrin's computer over there, we're all joining everybody. We're all joining in from different locations here in the country. So some places it's raining and it's storming all over here and there, but we're still here to help you. So Noah, could you go ahead and introduce yourself while we've got you up, and then we're going to get right back to Orrin so he can go ahead and share this powerful PowerPoint with us.
Yes, by all means. Thank you guys for having me. It's a pleasure to be here and to share. As stated, my name is Noah MacArthur of Noah Presents, the founder of the brand Noah, which is an ecumenical brand, ecumenical name, meaning nothing ordinary about him, nothing ordinary about her. speaks to the extraordinary in all of us. When it comes down to, I guess, the portion that I've been asked to share regarding economics, finance, and money, those pieces literally go hand in hand amid the challenge that we're facing here amid this COVID-19. Just kind of going back, when COVID started, the biggest challenge that it was out to impact is the level of finance. When you look at finance, economics, and money, finance is national, economics is global, money is personal. When finance is impacted nationally, economics is impacted globally, money is impacted personally. So therefore, individuals across the country are being impacted across the board, personally, economically, financially, socioeconomically, spiritually, alike. This is a report as recent as the 30th of April. As of 6 o'clock this morning, the information that came out, according to Johns Hopkins University, reopening the country is, of course, the conversation that's being had across America, when death tolls have topped 60,000, and that's according to NBC News count. Globally, there have been 227,000 deaths from the coronavirus. Meanwhile, South Korea recorded no new domestic COVID-19 cases for the first time in 72 days. Now, what's amazing about this, what we're experiencing here is going to impact us across the board. And as the conversation is being had that states like Texas will open as of today, well, as of May the 1st, which is tomorrow. The bottom line is dollars. I shared on this past week, the GDP, that in the second quarter, the GDP can be down by as many as a -20, -30, according to our own advisor to economics out of the White House, Hassett. And I want to share that. And I want to share that. The reason I want to share it, because I believe it makes sense to have those kind of conversations and have those numbers that make sense to us. He expects that the United States unemployment rate, due to the published amounts for next month, to soar way beyond 16, 17%. Right now, they're saying 20. But this is what I found interesting. Hassett shared that as an economic advisor to the White House, on an interview he had at Squawk Box this past Monday, that what we're looking at is something like a -20 to -30%, the gross domestic product. And that's what they call the GDP, and that's in the second quarter. When numbers like that are going, if those numbers are going to show up in the second quarter, that means the numbers now that we're seeing are going to be so severe, many individuals across the country are going to suffer. And of course, I'll get more into this, later, but I want to just kind of give these to us just to give us an idea of how serious this information is. In New York alone, Andrew Cuomo, who's doing an outstanding job. Andrew Cuomo is doing an outstanding job as a governor. But listen to these numbers. The unemployment rate is at its highest in New York. They're at the highest level since the Great Depression. As of April the 18th, just a week ago, 204,716 New Yorkers filed for unemployment insurance. Now, this number is less than by 48% of the numbers the week prior, which was 395,494. However, just in the last 5 weeks, data from the New York Department of Labor, they shows that the total number of New Yorkers filing for new jobless claims has reached 1.4 million. Why is it insignificant? It's significant because the high level of jobless claims are 2/3 of the total jobless claims filed during the entire Great Recession in 2007 to 2009.
Right.
Those numbers start to make sense when we look at where we are today. Where are we today? Right now, we're in the midst of right at 60 days. We've been right at 60 days at what's taken place. And these kind of numbers, the whole premise is if we think it's gotten tough, that means we have to pay so much attention to economics, finance, and money that we could better prepare for what will happen when we get into the second quarter. It's not enough for us just to wait and see.
Right.
It's all about how are we preparing right now.
Right.
And the way we prepare right now is to be informed. We must be informed. Now, if you want, I can go into some of the information that's considered what they call the bougie or the bourgeois ideology, and why that ideology is so significant now. I'll give the premise for the ideology itself, which comes from a Marxian report. And that Marxian report really has to do with capitalism. And capitalism at its best deals with two classes. It deals with a dominant class and it deals with a working class.
Yes.
The dominant class comes from the ideology of those who are wealthy and rich, for they can't relate to those who work every day, and that's by design. You have to have two classes. You have to have a class that's going to dominate. You're going to have a class that's going to be dominated. So when we talk about these two classes, this is what it would look like in real time. This is information gathered from Ernest Mandel, who did a pretty decent job on bourgeois ideology. Last month, we covered for almost 4 weeks the bourgeois ideology. The Marxian proposition, this is what it sounds like. It's the dominant ideology of every society, which is the ideology of the dominant class. It appears at first glance to conflict with the character of the proletarian revolution as the conscious overturning of society by the proletariats, as a product of the conscious independent activity of the wage earning masses. Now, what does that mean in layman terms? What it means is you have a dominant class, which are those that own the conglomerates, your Walmarts, your Targets, your major outlets, your major production or manufacturers, well, they're the dominant class.
Right.
And
what are the moms and pops? What are the moms and pops considered?
The moms and pops are considered what they call the small working class. Those are your smaller businesses that really drive the economy, because those businesses are your second tier organizations that really keep things running. Because they're responsible for so many more vendors to have jobs and to have work. When your larger conglomerates, hey, they're out there so they can kind of do as they will, because they're the big fish in the tank.
So let me ask you this before you move over to that. Let me ask you this, because Noah was talking to us. Not Noah. Oren was talking to us earlier about the imprisoned population, and we're going to get back to that, and he's going to share that powerful PowerPoint with us. But let me ask you this, because I really want to know this, and I want to shoot this to Oren and then kick it back to you. So Oren, with what Noah's saying about how we should be aware of the finances, and he's talking about, if you will, the more elite class, if you will, and then the lower class. But what about the people that are behind the wall, Oren? How are they classified?
They're classified, of course, as citizens, but they're class in a lower class. They're counted towards the population of that county or that state they're in. But when it comes to inmates and elitism or lower class, inmates fall below the lower class because they're incarcerated. They have no voice. They can't vote, participate in the electoral process. So, for inmates, it's a sad thing. It's a bad thing. And That's all I can say about it. It's just a sad thing, and that's where they lie. They're at the lower than the lower class.
Right, and that's why you guys really want to stay tuned, because this information that Orange is going to give you about our loved ones, because many of us have folks and family friends that are still incarcerated. So really quickly, I want to go ahead and look at some of the comments here and say hi. Hey, Grace, all the way from the Philippines. Good to see you. Hey, Simone, good to see you all the way from Canada. Keisha Jordan, where you coming in from? It's good to see you. And Robert and Ruth Verby, always good to see you all the way from Kamloops. Okay, Kamloops, Canada. Good to see you. And of course, we have the CEO of Live with Larry on from North Carolina. Good to see you. And Sean Siegel, all the way from Ohio. It's always a pleasure to see you. Happy to have you here. And for those of you that's just joining, come on in. Go ahead and tell a stranger and tell a friend, but also tell a friend of me, because I've got fabulous men here today that are talking about a myriad of things. But one thing that we're hitting the needle on the head right now about is our finances, where we are maybe right in the midst of COVID, and how we can empower ourselves for as we rise up out of this, how we are able to prepare ourselves for whatever is next to come. And we're also talking to the strategist. He's the financial strategist, Mr. Noah MacArthur. Just in case you haven't heard his name, this is where you want to be, because he's going to give you some nuggets. So make sure you have your pen and your pad available. And also, we have the CEO of Cons to Dons, Mr. Orrin Harris. And also, we have the millennial mindset of Milton Gore. He's going to be talking to our millennials and also giving us some nuggets from a millennial prospect. So we're going to get right back to it, and we're going to pass the baton back over to Noah, because he's got some powerful stuff to share with us about finances.
And thank you so much. Thank you so much again, Lotus. And to all of those that are sharing, especially my former family from Vancouver, British Columbia, and the surrounding areas. I was there for a while with the BC Lions. But all to say, this is what's interesting about where we are economically. The World Health Organization has guidelines, and there's 6 guidelines that must be in place according to the World Health Organization. Those 6 guidelines look like this, and I'm only bringing this up because before states are talking about opening up, there's some guidelines that the World Health Organization has put in place specifically for pandemics. And 6 of them must be followed, not 1, not 2, but 6. And these are the guidelines. Number 1, the pandemic or disease. The transmission must be under control. That's number 1. Number 2, the health systems are able to test, and they must treat, isolate every case, and trace contacts. Number 3, hotspot, what they call hotspot must risk. They must be minimized, which are the vulnerable places, kind of like your nursing homes. Number 4, schools, workplaces, and other essential places. They have to be under control. And that makes much sense considering where we are now. Number 5, the risk reporting new cases can be managed. And the 6th one, communities are fully educated, engaged, and empowered to live under a new normal. That's significant considering, states are having these conversations about what state is going to open with these leniencies or with these restrictions. But at the end of the day, those guidelines are not being followed, but they're not being followed because we have to know there are at least 2 classes here. There's the dominating class that are having conversation with those that are in positions of persuasion. And that dominating class is not having the issues of worrying about, what number of dollars are going to affect them one way or the other, though they are still being impacted. And they are being impacted, whether they want to admit it or not. But at the end of the day, they're not as impacted as those that have to live hand to mouth, those that have to work two part-time jobs just to pay one bill. So that becomes significant, especially in states like Georgia. Now, Georgia opened last week, and the moment they had the report, as of 48 hours ago, over 600 new cases and 23 deaths. Ladies and gentlemen, we have to know this is about dollars more than anything. I honestly believe with all my heart, we're going to come through this. I do. But I believe as we come through this, as Dr. King said it best, he said, now that we know segregation is here, we're aware, but at what cost? COVID-19, we are aware, but at what cost? And if they continue to push and promote opening these states too early, what we're going to see are a spike in these cases and many more deaths. The sum total of it all is that we cannot afford, we cannot allow ourselves to be pawned off for the dollar, because these stimulus checks, and I'll just go ahead and cover it now. Stimulus checks, the reason they call it stimulus checks, they call it stimulus checks is because they need to stimulate the economy. That's why they gave them to you. And in the writing of these checks, in the writing of the bill, for those who file their taxes come next year, for 2020 taxes, when they're filed next year, whatever dollars you received in stimulus, you owe that. So if you got $2,400 from your household and you go to file your taxes and you were due $2,500, you might get $100 back. But you're going to start off in the hole based on what they gave you. And it's only to stimulate the economy. I'll give this to us. The Nielsen report, and this was 2010, when they projected 2015, that by Cinco de Mayo. Now, when is Cinco de Mayo? May the 5th. When are many states talking about opening? By May the 1st. Hear me what I say. This report, the Nielsen report, and I'm gonna allow me to do this. I want to do this. I'm gonna read this to you because I want to read it to you word for word. This is an article that was published May 2014. It's the Nielsen report. Cinco de Mayo is becoming a major marketing opportunity for U.S. startups. In 2015, Hispanic consumers were projected to shell out $1.5 trillion. And that's a 50% increase from 2010. So that meant from 2010, that was 750 billion. By 2015, it was 1.5 trillion. Now, that's according to the Nielsen report. In the same report, last year, 2019, Mother's Day those consumers spent $24 billion last year for Mother's Day. Now, Cinco de Mayo comes up May the 5th. The following week, there's Mother's Day. 2 weeks later, there's Memorial Day. So this is about dollars more than it is about safety. And what it should at least alert us of is that if they're so concerned about our dollars, why should they not be that much more concerned about our safety? Well, when you go to the bougie ideology is the dominant class can care less about you. All they care about is their bottom line.
That's powerful. That's powerful. So what I'd like to do is pull the Nielsen report up. So Noah, look in the chat and look there.
Sure. Because
I was actually trying to pull it up. So put the link in there for that Nielsen report that you have, and I'll pull it up.
Nielsen. Yeah. The Nielsen report, it tracks spending of consumers. And I give this to us. America has always been a debt-driven society. So there's debt that we thrive on. We thrive on debt. So because we thrive on debt, that's what kind of keeps the economy afloat. But what happens when debt continues to rise and when there's nothing to offset the debt? What do we do? Well, one of the things it does is you have to look at the dollars from the Black and brown population. The Black community in the United States contribute almost a third of the dollars that go toward this economy. If I had to say again, as I said before, every year, African Americans spend about $2 billion on Air Jordans. They spend $1 billion on fast food. They spend about $20 billion on liquor. They spend about $80 billion on hair care products. And why is that significant? It's significant because those dollars they need to get back into society. They have to get back into the economy. They have to bring those dollars back. They showed lines upon lines, individuals, when they opened up parts of Georgia. They had lines for those that were at the nail salon, those that were at the beauty salon, at the hair shop. And as a consequence, it's so funny. I was having a piece. This had to be about 3 weeks ago. And as I started with this information, and when I started giving this information, they cut me off. I mean, literally, it cut it off. I mean, cut it off totally. Cut it off totally. And no one could understand what happened. So as I came right back, I started giving the same information, and it was all blurred, But what has happened is they have managed to manipulate the minds of those who are missing out on the understanding of how significant this bourgeois or this bougie ideology is. And it's a strong one. It was designed to keep the working class working. It's designed to keep the working class working because as long as the working class is a working class, they'll always give you just barely enough to get by and never enough to be free. So that means you'll always be tied to the designation of working for someone else. And that's the whole strength to the bougie or bourgeois ideology, because they can't relate to you being worth several hundred million and several billion dollars, no more than you can relate to them, they being worth that amount. So the mindset of those who are poor, and it's been designed strategically to keep them with a poor mindset, and not just poor in the sense of a lack, but the lack in their finances also has a tendency to help and assist the lacking in the community. That's how the socioeconomic is now overwhelmingly attracted to the economic depravities. And when you got economic depravity and socioeconomic depravity, they get together and they have a party.
So let's stop right here for a quick minute, because I want to take a comment. I want to take two comments, and then I want to go right over to some statistics that you've given us. And then once we finish with those statistics, we're going to have you give your ideas about that. And then we're going to go ahead and shift over to Aaron, because we want to hear about what's going on behind the wall. And then, of course, we're going to talk to our millennial, Mr. Milton Gore, and get a word from him. So really quick, I want to go right here to Sean Saxton. Sean Saxton is a business owner out of Florida, just brilliant person. She's been on our show before, and she's here, and she said that safety isn't important in America. And you brought this up, that safety isn't important. And her response is that, no, it isn't important in America. Money stirs the economy. Is there a bottom line? So this is the question. How many of you are going to run out with this stimulus checks and cause this thing to really explode even the more? I think there are so many people who are really upset about this thing. So one of the reasons why we're here today is really to give you some news that you can use to help further protect you as we rise out of this pandemic. And then she also said they know what they were doing by cutting you off. America is nothing nice, Babylon. So let me just say this. I cannot and I will not tell anyone, don't say what your thoughts are, because your thoughts are your views. But I will say this to you. You've got to protect yourself no matter what. And that's why we're here. That's why we're doing this show. We're not trying to say that if you go out, you're doing yourself a disservice or not. We're not trying to tell you that. We're just trying to tell you what the numbers say. What the numbers say, what the statistics say, so that you can arm yourself, so that you can protect not only yourself, but your family and those around you. So Daisy out of South Carolina says, that's so true. I do all my feet and nails myself. Safety is first. So with that being said, I want to go ahead and jump right in. And I want to share with all of you this wonderful piece of information that we've got here. So give me a moment. I'm going to share this screen with you. And then we're going to have someone just kind of talk about this just a little bit. So just bear with me. I'm going to get this up here. So what this is a Black COVID-19 disparity. Okay.
Yes.
And Mr. MacArthur is talking about this. So can you break this down a little bit so that people, can, if they don't have a moment to glance at it, so they know exactly what they're looking at?
Let me give us something to think about. Understand that a vast majority of Americans do not have health care. So you have to take into consideration the level of disparity that COVID-19 has exposed in America. It has exposed not only what we're going to see here, it has exposed the homeless population. It has exposed education. As a matter of fact, in some major metropolitans, they had no idea the number of children that were homeless until this COVID-19 took place. Now, many of them knew, they just weren't paying attention, and this is where we are. But I'm just going to go through it, and I may not go through all of them, but they're up there. It shows the population of African Americans by way of state. And then I'm going to highlight what the population of COVID-19 is. Just so you know, in the state of Georgia, 80% of COVID patients as of this morning are African American in hospitals. I want to say that again. 80% of those COVID patients that are in hospitals as of today in Georgia are African American. So now that was as of this morning. This report is about a week. It's just about a week old. This was as of April the 22nd. In Mississippi, the state of Mississippi. This is the population of African Americans in Mississippi. They're 39% African American in Mississippi. The percentage of African Americans with COVID-19, 55%. In Georgia, 34% of population in Georgia are Black. The percentage of COVID-19 cases, 53%. Now, mind you, this was as of the 22nd. They opened that same weekend. When it came to Georgia opening, they just saw a spike of over 600 new cases and 23 deaths. So as I shared with you, that 80% of those of color in hospitals in the state of Georgia are COVID-19 patients that are of color. Maryland, the percentage of African Americans in the state, 31%. Percentage of COVID-19 cases of African Americans, 47%. The state of Michigan, 15% population of African American. Percentage of African American COVID-19 cases, 43%. Missouri, 12% population. COVID-19 cases, 40%. Carolina, 24% African American population. COVID-19 cases, 39%. Alabama, population of Blacks in Alabama, 28%. COVID-19 cases for Blacks, 37%. North Carolina, 28% population makeup. COVID-19 cases of people of color, 36%. Illinois, 16% people of color population. People of color, COVID-19 in Illinois, 33%. Arkansas, 16% population of color. Population COVID-19 cases, 32%. Tennessee, 18% make up the population. Those with COVID-19 cases, 28%. And the list goes on and on. And I wanted to get to this one, and I'm going to stop it here, and I'm going to tell you why. In Virginia, now watch this. In Virginia, 21% in the state of Virginia make up the population of Virginia. 28% of those cases are COVID-19 people of color. Why is that significant, and why I'm stopping there? In the state of Virginia, the governor is a medical doctor by profession. He has since kept the state on lockdown till the 10th of June. And it's significant because there's something he understands and he recognizes it's not so much about the dollar as it is about the safety of your constituents. Because at the end of the day, if there's no one to spend the dollars, it doesn't matter what kind of profit you're looking for. So at the bottom line, when it comes to this ideology that is happening, that we're seeing where everyone wants to open these states early, they're more concerned about profit than they are anything else.
Wow, I tell you that's pretty powerful, and I'm so happy that you took the time to share this information, because unequivocally, folks, we've done a lot of homework, because we want you to have the numbers, and the numbers are staggering. But what I like most that you said, Noah, is that the governor of that state is a medical physician.
Yes.
So he understands that the issue is a lot bigger than people really realize, because he understands it from a medical premise.
Absolutely.
So, and me working in the clinical arena for a number of years and working for the Department of Defense, there are a lot of things that clinicians are going to see firsthand that the public is not going to see.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I'm so grateful and thankful that you presented that. So with that being said, if you could say two things to folks, two things about this, what would you say would be the number one thing, and then the number two thing that is most important when it comes to our finances and our safety amid getting all these dollars?
The first thing I tell us is prepare for the fallout. There's a fallout that's coming. And when this started, I was asked a similar question. And I honestly said it would be July, August before we even see any level of release. Now, of course, I understood their whole premise. Well, we want to say 2 weeks, and then for, baby spoon feeding folk. I understand all that. But at the end of the day, what I would recommend, budget, manage, and save. The dollars that you're getting, budget, manage, and save. Why? Let me tell you how serious it is. Many individuals that have been home for almost 2 months. Kids have been out of school for practically 6 to 7 weeks, not save their spring break. Now, kids that are at home, they're eating more. So the fact that they're eating more, my oldest daughter has my three grandbabies, and my daughter, and I don't have big grandchildren. My oldest will be 11. My baby girl, my granddaughter, she'll be 7 in Father's Day weekend. And my little man, he'll be 2 in this summer. Ironically enough, her grocery bill averages $280 a week.
Wow.
That's $280 a week. That's her husband, and their 3 children. Now, why do I go there? One of the things I recommend saving and managing better, because if nothing else, them kids growing. So when school starts, you got to buy new clothes.
Yep.
So don't miss out on the very practical things. And even the scriptures teach. The scriptures teach, don't make light of small beginnings. We can't make mockery of the small things. So that's number one. The first thing I say, save, manage, and budget much more wisely than you have. The second thing I'd recommend is, you don't need it. You ain't gonna die without it. You'll be okay. Stay your butt at home. Why? You staying in decreases the chances of you being exposed to it and exposing others to it just the same. And when you do that, you save yourself economically, How economically? Because this is what happens. As much as this COVID, they really don't know a whole lot about it. So because they don't know a whole lot about it, that's enough common sense for me to say, if they don't know and they're medical professionals, and that should let me know I don't need to be playing with this thing. So that means if I don't have to go to the doctor and just create a bill, I'm not going to. So the best thing for me to do is stay home.
Yep.
Stay home. Stay in. You stay in, stay safe, stay alive. Those are the two things I tell you. Manage budget and spend wisely. Spend wisely. Budget better. Budget better. Be effective. And lastly, stay at home. Just absolutely stay at home. It'll save your life and it'll save the lives of those you love.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, because it is unequivocal. If you spend wisely and if you stay home, and I love what you said, if you don't need it, you ain't gonna die without it. So stay your butt at home, because you don't know really how this thing is really moving forward. So you need to stay at home to further contain it so that you're not affected by it. And if you're already affected by it, you don't go and affect or infect others. Now, it is unequivocal that we have numbers coming from Asia and all over the globe that also talk about the fact that many of them closed down. They went into a lockdown and they came out of lockdown too soon. And what happened was it had an uptick and it became worse and more lives were lost. So again, if you don't need it and you ain't going to die without it, what you say?
And I said, yep, you're right.
Stay your butt at home. Stay your butt at home. So with that being said, we're going to shift all the way over to quickly. Milton, you haven't had a word to say yet. I know you were taking an earlier meeting. Please go ahead and introduce yourself and then go ahead and pass the baton over to Warren, and he's going to take us back to our brothers and sisters behind the wall. Go ahead, Milton.
Yes, thank you so much for having me, Lotus. This is wonderful. We're getting some great nuggets, great information here. I apologize for not being able to make it earlier, but my name is Milton Gore. I have a company called MG Visual Studios, which produces graphic design material and promotional products and branding for organizations and businesses. I also work and am achieving my master's in higher education for further future practitioner in student affairs. Again, this is great. What Orrin is about to say is going to be great. What Brother Noah has been telling us is great. Definitely what Brother Noah just said needs to embed in people's minds right now, because this is serious. This is affecting all age groups, including my age group. They say the younger generation is not as effective. Yes, we are. This affects us mentally. This affects us physically, health-wise, and all types of criteria. Guys, please listen. Ladies and gentlemen, please listen, because this is some great nuggets. Share with friends, share with family, get them on. Play this again for others after this live video is over. We're shooting out some great nuggets. We're shooting out some good nuggets on this one. So good. Thank you so much, Lotus.
Thank you so much. So with that being said, I want to go ahead. If you haven't, if you're just joining us, if you don't know what's going on, I've got some phenomenal men here with me today. We've got the Millennial Mindset Mastermind right here, Milton Gore. He is a millennial coming to those of us millennials who are thinking that this cannot affect you. We beg to differ, and we're giving you statistical data that's showing you this is not numbers that we've made up. These are numbers that are actual and factual. Know the facts, because numbers matter. Real numbers matter. And we're getting these great numbers from these great men. I got to tell you something. If you're just joining this broadcast, you need to hit replay, because Noah MacArthur is a strategic financial mogul. So if you want to take any information as far as strategy for finance, this is the man you want to talk to. But he has just dropped some magnificent nuggets on us that should really make you go, But also, you need to be writing it down. And make sure, if you haven't already, share, like, and go ahead and start a watch party, because there are people around the globe, not just in the United States, that needs to know what's going down. Okay. And then, of course, next coming to you, if you hadn't heard him earlier, the next person is going to talk to you. He's going to talk about what's going on behind the wall with our brothers and sisters in jail. The CEO of Dons to Cons, or Cons to Dons, Cons to Dons, Orrin Harris is going to come next. But before we do that, we're going to take a quick break, and then we're going to take some comments. And then, Orrin, the mic is going to be yours. So with that being said, we'll be right back. And we are back. We are back. Good to see you. So right quick, I want to go ahead and look at the comments. And I think Noah had a quick thing he wanted to say. We're going to flip to Noah, and then we're going to go ahead and flip over to Orrin. So I want to look at this because Janelle Harris, she is the CEO of She Exists. She said, we target economics, financial strategies, prison statistics. This is good stuff. We all need to share this broadcast so we can spread the information. So I want to send a special thanks out to the CEO of She Exists, Mrs. Janelle Harris, because that is so true. And then Sean Lovely Saxon said, man, this is global. Without a doubt, this is global. So those of you that have not shared this, take this time to share this with your friends, your neighbors next door, your coworkers, and your frenemies. Share it because everyone needs to hear it. And I want to say a special thank you to Phyllis Weaver. She is with us, and she said, agreed, we need to share this. We need to get this out. And also all the way from the Philippines, Grace Bautista says, also learn what are your wants and your needs. That is a powerful statement because, and see, Noah, that takes it back to you because you said if they don't need it, they're not going to die without it, so they should say their butts at home. So I'm gonna say, look, we need to have another talk later on about what are wants and needs, because some people don't know what are wants and some folks don't know what are needs. So I tell you what, we're not gonna put you off. Noah, tell people really quickly what is a want and what is a need, so we can identify it, because so many people think like. Some people that love Oreos, they think it's a need because they have this craving. But it's not a need. So can you share a need and a want?
Absolutely.
And then, Orrin, you're up next.
I'm gonna give it to us. I'm gonna give it to us both ways. Biblically, a need is simply this: when you have a roof over your head, you have food on your table, and you have clothes on your back, your needs have been met. Be very clear. When the text teaches that God will provide all your needs, that means food to eat, clothes to wear, and a roof over your head. Food, raiment, and shelter are needs. Everything else, hear me well, everything else are amenities.
Yes.
If your car got to be push started, you're thankful. You don't need a new car. Now. Can I say this to us? One of the things that's happened to this society, we have become so spoiled and ruined by the microwave system. You know, everything is instant. Everything is instantaneous. Yes. We got instant grits. We got instant oatmeal. We got instant rice. Everything is so instant that we miss out on the flavor of the process.
Yes.
When the word teaches us that don't make light of small beginnings, we get more by appreciating less. See, heaven's addition and subtraction is not like ours. So what we need to go back to is recognize what our needs are. And when we got food to eat, clothes to wear, bed to lie, roof over our heads, our needs are met. Exactly. Everything else are amenities. You going to get your hair done 3 or 4 times a month, that's not a need. Having to get your nails done, that's not a need. It's nothing, and hear me well, people. It's nothing wrong with pampering yourself, but it's not needed. Can I give you some alternative pamperings? Get yourself some SSS. Now I know I'm dating myself, so some of y'all may not know what the SSS was. The SSS was that soft soap. It was that soft soap, sensitive lotion and soap that you used to use. And put it in your water. Get you some bath beads. Hey, pamper yourself at home. You know, you want to do. It's nothing wrong with doing those things for yourself. You don't need it. You don't need to go out. One thing about our needs, we have to know when it comes down to your economics, finance, and your money situation, your needs are your abilities to live that has to be paid. Whatever utilities, those are needs, those are necessities. Everything outside of that should take second place. Watch this. Should say take second place to you. What does that mean? When you have taken care of the Savior, God has gotten his, you've taken care of your necessities, now pay yourself. What happens is many individuals struggle with having because they give everybody else so much more because they think that's a need. That's not a need, that's a want. Necessity is always the identity that when you see where the struggle is, look at where your needs are. And you'll start to see wherever your needs are. If those needs are being met, your struggles are less. The greater the struggle, the less you're paying attention to your needs.
Fantastic. Fantastic. I love the way you sum that up. So let's go ahead and kick it over to Orrin Harris. Orrin Harris, for those of you that's just joining, he is the CEO of Cons to Dons. And I think his signal may have just blurred out. But if that is the case, he'll be back momentarily. But what we're going to do, we're going to keep moving on. And I want to take a couple of comments. And one of the comments says, bam, pay yourself. So pay yourself and understand that, look, we need to have a savings for emergency. And like Grace said, back to basics. We got to get back to basics, folks.
Absolutely.
Okay, get back to basics. Some of the things that you think you need, you really don't need. But let me ask you this. What about our folks behind the wall? What about our folks behind the wall that aren't even getting the most meager of needs met? Because they're getting stuff that aren't even for human consumption. And I've covered that in a previous broadcast. So Orrin, the stage is yours.
Yes.
Please go ahead. Let's talk about what's going on behind the wall with not only our men and our women, but what's not happening with the families who aren't visiting the folks behind the wall. And I'll bring up your PowerPoint when you're ready.
Yes, there's a lot. Well, thanks for having me back. I'm so sorry about, these connections and all that. I got beef with Spectrum right now and their Wi-Fi. They definitely gonna hear from me for all the money I'm paying. But anyway, there's a lot going on behind the wall, especially with families not being able to see their loved ones. That's always an issue. Being able to see children, if the woman to bring them on, your mother, or any friends or family, is always helpful because it helps you get through your time.
Yes.
It lets you know that someone loves you. Just to basically, someone said to me, well, I've been hearing, I can't wait till the world opens back up. Well, people, let me say this. The world has never been closed. The world has always been open because God is always in control. He's here. And if the world was closed, we would know about it. Mm-hmm. Economies are closed right now in certain businesses, but the world is always open for business. We're breathing and we're here. You can bring up you can bring it up anytime you want. You wish.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, folks, so we are getting right into the PowerPoint that Orrin took his wonderful time to share with us. So here we go. So as you can see,
shout out to you, Sean.
It's gonna come up in a moment, and give me 1 second before we do that. Let me go ahead and come right back. Hold on one quick second, and let me move that so we can see his total item here. So let's see here. Okay, so let me know. All right, we've got it right here, and we're going to go ahead and put it up so that it shows in the slide form as he begins to talk about it. So right here, this is the initial slide. So take it away, Oren.
Yes, yes. Well, initially, when you first broke, let me speak. I think we covered this part out here. African Americans are basically 30% or 14% of the population, United States population, but 30% of all COVID cases. Comes down to Hispanics,
Yes.
27% of COVID cases, 16% of the population. Caucasians are 73% of the total U.S. population. And I believe 26% of the COVID population. So moving on down, I'd like to speak quickly and briefly about the, as it relates to institutions. The Federal Bureau of Prisons. I'm going to read from this so I can be as accurate as possible, and then I'll expound from there. The Federal Bureau of Prisons have 46 facilities and 17 RRCs nationwide.
Right.
And as of April 27, 2020, there in the federal prisons, there's over 142,000 federal inmates being managed.
Mm-hmm.
Of that, over 142,000, there are over 10,400 community-based facilities. Those will be your local facilities where federal inmates are housed. And as of 4/27/2020, let me bring that up a little bit. There's currently over 10,000 federal inmates and 300 nationwide in the federal system.
Wow.
And only 390 inmates who have recovered in 124 staff. And your great state of New Jersey,
Mm-hmm.
there have been 29 deaths.
Mm-hmm.
And only 108. This is alarming here. There have been 29 deaths throughout the state of New Jersey in its prison system, but there has only been 189 people tested, inmates.
Yes.
And that's alarming.
Yes.
We can remember the president saying everyone who needs a test will get a test. I guess that didn't get down to to inmates, and especially, half of the people in America haven't been tested yet. So more information on that, you can go to, you can check this out on the New Jersey interception in terms, because, because it's serious down in Jersey as it is everywhere. And I'm speaking about these numbers. These numbers are crazy because, those are our brothers and sisters behind the walls, and they need us.
Yes.
They need us. They need us. They need us bad. You know what I mean? And they need our house. They need a voice out here. It's so easy to say again, and I always say this. It's so easy to say they committed crimes. They're in there.
Yes.
Who cares? Not everyone in prison is actually innocent. I mean, guilty. I'm sorry.
That's true.
Not everyone is innocent either, but not everyone is guilty. So
Right.
We need to be voices for them and advocates as well, and that's what I'm doing. And
Exactly.
moving along now, if we can look at this picture here. If everyone can see this picture, because we're talking about how here in this world, in society, we're talking about social distancing. And if you see this picture, this is not a picture that's uncommon. You will see these are the conditions in many prisons and institutions around this country.
Yes. And let me say,
sure.
And let me say, Oren, these photos and these numbers are coming from people who have personal knowledge of being either incarcerated in the prison systems or having worked in the prison systems. I myself worked in the prison system for 7 years. I also used to visit long before I worked in the prison system. I visited family members and friends who were in the prison systems. But because I worked in the prison systems, I used to walk these little aisles that are congested like this. I used to walk these aisles. So this social distancing in prison, it's no way that it's happening. It's just not happening. And I just want to quickly say we have several people on right now that are joining us who actually are former prison workers. So I want to say a special shout out to Sergeant Smitty. Good to see you. Keita Brembry. Good to see you. Elizabeth Holt Brown. Good to see you. Nika Hammer. Good to see you. Frank Canoe. Good to see you. Adrian Smith. It is good to see you. Bernard Smith and just Norman Bryant, Gregory Taylor out in New Jersey. It is so good to see you. As you are coming on here, we're talking about some powerful stuff. But right now, we're talking about the social distancing in prisons. And if you haven't started a watch party, you haven't liked and you haven't shared, then you need to get started. Share, like, and start a watch party. And I'm kicking it back to Brother Oren.
Yes. Social distancing in prison it's not going to happen. It can't happen unless you're in a cell, and that's where you're going to be 24 hours a day. And at some point in time, you're going to have to come out of your cell unless you're in segregation.
Right.
So I've done this last time here in North Carolina, and it's just sickening. It was just sickening. But I made it. And it's so hard to talk about, especially during this time. Social distancing can I have? So, when we talk about these numbers, those numbers vary state to state when you're talking about who's infected in the prison, who has a virus, who's recovered, because most governors block the information from getting out there to the general public because they don't want you to know how bad it really is, and so, have those accurate numbers is going to be hard to get those. But if you look at this picture here, pictures say a lot, and this one has a lot. And this is happening not just where this facility is, but all over. And it's just a sad state of affairs. And we need to be always advocates for our brothers and sisters on the other side because they matter.
Yes.
We can move on if you will.
Okay, fantastic. Okay, in this one is the COVID-19. He's going to be sharing some information on Florida as it prepares to come up.
Yeah, this is Florida where I presently reside. Florida has 67 counties, and of the 67 counties, all have been affected. Some to a large degree and some to a small degree. There was over at the time I did this was 32,000 active cases here in Florida, but there's more now in Hillsborough County, where we reside. Oh no, Riverdale, but it's Hillsborough County. Well over 1,000 in Pasco County. 237 cases, Pinellas counties. Those are just the counties, some of the counties within Florida. So, when we're talking about these numbers here, and when we were talking about these numbers here, African Americans, of course, and Latinos, we've been affected all over. But what I don't want to, what I won't do, and what I'm not going to do, is join on in the fear mongering, because at some point in time, the economy has to open, and it's going to open at some point in time. And although we should be careful in everything we do, how we move out there, there shouldn't be this overwhelming fear that we're not going to make it, because at some point in time we will recover. You can move on from there if you will, because for time.
Yes, sir.
Okay, moving over to New York. New York has been on the news every single day. Of course, we can tell, and we all know if you've been watching CNN or any news, MSNBC, Fox, whatever. New York City has been hit the hardest, and just like all epidemics going way back, to the AIDS, when AIDS first, came out, and New York City was smashed with that and hit the hardest, but one thing I want to say is this: if we panic and not use common sense, you know, we make mistakes, and people
Right.
always make mistakes when there's fear.
Right.
And you know, so we have to use common sense here in all our judgments and everything we do. You know, I'm passionate. I mean, like really, I'm so passionate about my brothers and sisters behind the wall, and especially those in the state of New York, you know, the great state, my home state, you know. So, you know, I know how it goes down from a few brothers that I stay in contact with. And
Okay. I think he's going in and out a little bit, but it's okay. Just bear with us. He'll be coming right back in.
Right.
But as we move forward, let's go ahead and let's talk about, because I'm a Jersey girl and I have a lot of friends that are from New York. We've got Sean Saxton. She's actually out of New York, good friend of mine. We've become quick friends over the past several months, if you will. And I got to tell you, when I saw the news that so many people in the New York area was affected, and I saw the bodies being loaded into the trucks with forklifts, I was so disheartened. We had a young man, or older gentleman, actually, he resides in New York, and he actually shared the live video, and it was so hurtful and it was so shocking. The grown man was crying on the video, telling people this is real, just to let people know, hey, you cannot play. So you've got to wash your hands. You've got to use proper practices, wear your mask and wear your eye coverings and things of that nature. Why? Because it enters through the body through mucous membranes. You have mucous membranes in your eye and also in your mouth. But also, I would suggest you cover your nose if you can as well, because you're breathing this in. So make sure your mask does this. Okay, make sure it's covering both your nose and your mouth. I've seen people with masks on only covering their mouth. I don't understand it, but I encourage you. I've worked with bloodborne pathogens. I've been a clinical engineer for Kodak. I used to teach doctors and technicians how to run blood chemistry. So I know quite a bit about airborne and bloodborne pathogens. And I highly, highly, highly encourage you to make sure you protect yourself. But as many people say, it starts with washing your hands. Something as simple as that. And I will say, great PowerPoint to Orrin Harris, the CEO of Considon. I sure do appreciate you sharing that with us, because it is unequivocal that we needed to see that PowerPoint. So Orrin, thank you so much. We know that you blinked out. I thank you for sharing that PowerPoint. But see, this is the thing, folks. Amid all the technical difficulties, we are here. We are still here, and we're going to keep coming back to make sure you stay safe. So, Orrin, go ahead and have a couple words, and then go ahead and pass it on to our millennial, Milton Gore.
Okay, I'm so sorry, people, and thanks again, Lotus. I heard you. I was listening. I heard you talking about the importance of washing hands. But hygiene should always been important, well before the pandemic. You understand what I'm saying? Well before Corona. You know what I mean? You know, we should always have been washing our hands. You know, bathing regularly. You know what I mean? When we out in public, you know, the things we touch. You know, when I'm in a supermarket or any kind of store, you know, before this thing even happened, I was always conscious of the person in back of me or next to me, because I've always been like that. Don't get that. If you're close enough where I can feel you breathing on my back, or one of your parts touching me, we got a problem. Okay, so you need to back up. You know what I mean? You done got too close now.
Yes.
You understand what I'm saying? So we should always be aware of those things well before this. So hygiene is always important, and knowing your surroundings and what you're doing. So washing your hands is always good. Just real quick, as I was saying about the state of New York, you know, New York has been hit hard, and as well as other states. Right now, Chicago is getting it.
Yes.
Chicago
Yes.
is really getting bad.
Yes.
You know what I mean? You know,
Yes.
all those brothers and African American and Latino brothers and sisters that are really getting it bad. You know what I mean? So we need to be conscious and know these numbers, know where we are, know where we stand in this country in terms of the government and the politics. Because at the end of the day, you know, I can only say it the way I know it, the way I've been taught it, and the way I live it. There's an election coming up in November. No matter who you vote for, let's get out there and vote, because that is a right our ancestors and have died for. You understand what I'm saying? For us to have that right. So voting is very important. If you want to see change in your community, let's not just look at the national level. I'm sorry if I'm deviating just a little bit.
No, go ahead.
Let's
Please.
look at the national level. Let's look at your local officials. These are the men and women who are your judges, your district attorneys, the people who controls your schools, your sheriff. You know, these things matter. Oftentimes we're thinking about this big election here, which of course is really, really important. But at the local level, if you want to see things change in your community, we need to get out there and vote those people in out as well. You understand what I'm saying? Because that matters. It matters what happens if a sheriff is saying, okay, I'm not going to execute all these eviction notices before me today because we have a bad death. But if we had another sheriff,
one quick moment. Somebody's got some background. You're probably listening to the show on your other device. If you can, go ahead and minimize your other item so we can hear Brother Oren. Okay, Brother Oren, go ahead.
Yeah, so it's important because if you have a sheriff like as down here in Florida, he's not executing any of the eviction orders these companies and businesses been putting in, because he knows and he realizes that he has passion. He's a man of God. Okay, but what I'm trying to say, if you don't vote at those lower levels, and there was a sheriff in play in the office, he could have very well said, and I don't care what the pandemic is, I'm saying my sheriff's over there, and you're gonna be on the sidewalk. So let's just not look at the general election. Just go vote for who you want, exercise your vote, please get out there and vote. Again, I'm gonna wrap up. When it comes down to the prisoners, passionate, our brothers and sisters behind those walls, advocate for them. Let's speak up for them, because their lives matter just as well. People saying, well, all lives matter. We know we talking about Blacks and Latinos right now, our people, my people. That's what I'm concerned about. And our lives matter, and that's what it is. So in closing, I would say, let's be smart. Let's be careful.
Yes.
Let's not just rush out there to just want to be out there. When we look at Atlanta, what's going on right now, at some point in time, these economies in these states have to open. Let's just hope and pray for those, those brothers and sisters, those men and women down there, that COVID is minimized and it doesn't, continue to grow. There's profit in fear as well.
Yes.
There's profit in fear. People is like, listen here, Atlanta, the governor. Okay, listen, he did what he did. And let's just pray for the men and women of Atlanta right now, that this thing does pass and these economies do open. Whether it's too soon or we, they should have waited, we'll find out. But let's just not say, okay, well, he's this and he's that, just the other. Yes, he's whatever. But at some point in time, brothers and sisters, we got to try to get beyond this. But at the same time, we got to work together. We have to be smart and always get out correct information. Because in the very beginning of this, I can remember on the news and people saying, Black people are immune. We cannot get coronavirus.
Yes.
It was almost, we had superpowers. We were lied to. And look what happened. Look who it affects the most. Hispanics, Blacks and Latinos. That's what's taking out and killing the most.
Yes.
So we were lied to, and if you do not have or do not get correct information, information is key. Just because they say let's open doesn't mean you have to be the first one at the barbershop or the strip club or the nail salon. So, but if you have the correct information, on with the correct information, you make an informed decision. Now it's up to you. But I won't, I won't, be a part. I'm not going to do that. I'm not going to be a part of the fear, because I know for a fact there's profit in fear. And lastly, I can remember a long time ago, I had a correction officer. When I was being released, he said to me, this is the night before. He said, I heard you going home. I was like, yeah, He said this to me. Honestly, this is true. He said, please hurry up and come back. He told me that. Please hurry up and come back, because I keep my job every time you come to prison. These are facts. He said that.
Yes.
We have to be smarter. My brothers and my sisters is out there in the streets.
Yes.
And, doing what you're doing. You got to be smart. Make better decisions and choices, because if you don't, you will be one of those bodies cramped up in one of these jails facing this. You can't, really do the social distance. Your life could really be at jeopardy with COVID in these prisons. So make better decisions while you're out here, so you're not in one of those cells, not in one of those dormitories, having to deal with and face the possibility of being infected with COVID-19, because it could be a death sentence when you only went in there for a minor offense.
Wow.
So
that's powerful. That's powerful, and that's true, because you can go in for one thing, but you can also catch another charge while you're in, and it'll elongate your time. I worked in the prison systems for 7 years at 3 different prisons. So what Brother Orrin is talking about is spot on. But also, Brother Orrin, you told people to make sure they vote. And let me share this with you. I'm going to share about 2 or 3 comments, and then we're going to kick the torch right over to Milton Gore. So Nikki Hammer, thank you for joining us, Nikki. We really appreciate you. Trice Manuel, thank you for joining us as well. But Nikki Hammer said, in reference to what you said about voting, she said, talking about vote, let me say this. I'm learning, she's learning disability person over the years. She said, I wanted to vote, but the voting place is not fully set up for me to do full vote over the years, because people are not trained how to help us to vote at the machine. Well, guess what? I challenge each and every one of my guests that's on the platform right now to come back and we can talk about this topic, Nikki. And I tell you, go ahead and reach out to me at lotusignites@gmail.com, lotusignites@gmail.com, because we've got the strategic man of finance on. And definitely, if there's a problem in voting, there's a problem in the finance too. It's all interconnected. How about our men and women in jail? They cannot vote. How about our millennials? Right. What are they doing about the voting? So we have to come together to make sure we understand that people who are disabled, they need to have the ability to vote. There has to be something in place so that they can get into the voting lane and vote as well. So thank you for sharing that. And also, I wanted to say, yeah, go ahead. Go ahead.
Here in Florida right now, this governor, I believe it was Proposition 4. They voted on it about a year and a half ago. Ex-cons are able to vote now. Of course, Governor DeSantis, he has it in court right now. Saying that again, this guy here is, that's Trump's homeboy. So he's trying to fight and block everything. And right now he's trying to use the argument that all of the debts need to be paid as far as restitution and court costs and fees. That should be the reason these gentlemen can't vote. But the overwhelming 78% of Floridians voted for this amendment, so ex-felons or ex-cons can be able to vote. So in most states, if this pandemic lingers on, what they're talking about now in many states is mail-in ballots and mail-in votes. In many states, this is what's happening in the news and the media right now and in politics. So wherever you are, my lady, in whatever state you are in, you talking about, incompetent people, find out about your local, election rules and what's happening as far as voting, because it may be very well that in your state you will be able to mail in your ballot. So just stay up on that and be informed, and that's why I say about education and being informed about certain topics. So at least you will know. And lastly, it was something you just said, but anyway, I just wanted to say that. And in closing, again, I want to say, people, let's get out and vote because it really matters. Listen, take this from me. I'm a guy from Brooklyn, New York. Streets. I was in the streets half of my life. I've been in prison, over half of my life. And it's nothing good to say. Over half of my life, I spent time in prisons and institutions. I'm a guy that grew up in Brooklyn, New York. Grew up in a time that was just crazy. Here I am all these years later talking about voting, and I am able to vote. And I will be voting. You can say you take from the heart. People change, and you mature. I'm going to say to all my brothers and sisters out there, if you're in those streets and you still hustle and you're able to vote, change your life around. I'm telling you, change your life around. Do not wait and go to jail for something really minor. And especially in this day and time right now with this coronavirus and this pandemic going in, and your minor charge becomes your death sentence.
Yes.
Okay.
And real quick, as we go over, thank you so much.
Thank you.
No, go ahead. And I'm sorry if I interrupt. If you got anything else to say, I want you to please say it because it's super important.
No, I'm done. I just want people out there to know that we have our brothers and sisters behind those walls. Let's not forget about them. They matter. Every one of us black in this, we have been touched by crime in some way. It may not have been direct. It could have been our cousins, brother, sister, cousins, or someone we know that we care about.
Yes.
If we got to get, the morality in America in this world sometimes is just, it's just gone. We don't care about us. Me. You know what I'm saying? We got to somehow, some way, I care. If you don't care about me, I care about you. So if you listen to my voice right now, I care about you because I've been there. I've been in places, a lot of you, I pray never, ever, ever have to go. Ever have to go. And I'm here speaking as a voice of change and somebody who cares. So if no one out there, your mother, your father, your friend, your husband, your wife said to you today, did say to you today, they care and they love you, Ron loves you and I care about you. So let's get out there and let's vote. Care about our brothers and sisters behind those walls. Let's wash our hands. Let's bathe regularly, which we should have been doing in very beginning anyway. Like really, then wash your hands now. Wash your hands. We should have been doing that every single day.
Yes.
All day anyway. But so we care. I care. Wash your hands. Let's be smart and let's be smart and be conscious about what we do. Lotus, thank you for this opportunity. Noah, my man, that was great information. And young blood, can't wait to hear what you say. I'm gonna step away for a minute.
Yes,
but I'll be back.
Okay,
thank
sounds
you,
good. You're welcome, dear. And thank you so much. Thank you so much for Chico Alvarado. Good to see you. Larry Bush. Good to see you out of Atlanta, Georgia, and all over the world. We got Rosemary Sanchez here. All the way from Canada, brilliant author. She's here. Thank you so much. We also have the remarkable Robert J. Moore. He's with us. And y'all, it's been hot. It's been hot on this box. I mean, we came in with Noah just lighting us up about finances. And then Brother Oren just kicked a home run, or do I say kicked a field goal, right? And now we're going into the millennial, Mr. Milton Gore. Let us hear.
Amen.
Yes. Thank you so much, Lotus, for having me. Serious gems are being dropped on this call, on this live feed right now. I mean, really, Noah really hit up with a lot of things that I really tried to attest to people to. I relate a lot to that because he has the knowledge behind it, and we definitely need to listen to that knowledge. More so with me, it's more on I mean, I know the numbers, but it's the common sense behind it. And that's where us as millennials, and I guess that's why you want to take upon this age group and the certain age gender that we're in and everything to really, I mean, what we're focusing on right now in this call, we're talking about COVID-19. We're talking about how it can affect us all. And, a lot of things, and one thing I want to point out too is that, yeah, it was being told to us that it wouldn't affect us as minorities and as Black men, as Black women, that it wouldn't affect us, but it is. And Noah had definitely pointed out those numbers that it truly is affecting us.
Yes.
And so when it comes to us, one thing I want to say is that going back to a certain period of time when I saw a lot of people in my age group, out and about, they're having a good time, this, that, and the third. And this was back in March when things were really starting to really, I guess, people were kind of like getting wide-eyed about it. Mm-hmm. And how people were still going out, still doing this and that and the third. And that's how this can be contracted. As a young individual, I can still contract this virus just simply because of common knowledge of knowing that this can be on services, this can be anywhere. We all know the details. We all know what is being said when it comes to that. And what we need to do is learn to listen and being, definitely alive and definitely be conscious about this. Yes, I help out, the elderly, my mom and dad who are elderly and they cannot go out. So I take as much precaution when I do go out, and I do, try to get things for them, because as an older generation, yes, have they been more acceptable of it? Sure, that's true. But however, I can be too. And I have to be conscious. I have to think conscious about that. And so what I need to do is stay safe. Stay your butt at home. Like Noah said, if you don't need it, don't go out to get it. And that is the one thing it comes to over this period of time that we're going to still be, at home. We need to think about things wisely. We need to think about the income. If we are receiving income, if we're blessed to still receive this income, we need to really definitely thinking about how we're going to manage, save, and budget this, because we have some things coming up. Even me as a father myself, I have things coming up. Like Noah said, you have children that you want to pay for when they start going to school here coming up in August, when this is all over with. So that's one of the main examples is that. So we have to really be conscious of that. We have to really think about it. We don't need to be spending dollars on unnecessary things that we definitely don't need. That's what we do not need to do. And I see that a lot within the minorities. I really do. Not saying it's not all over, but I do see it a lot within Black individuals as well. I see it a whole lot. I've always said it. We spend money, and I'll say this over and over again, as Lotus, as you continue to bring me on the show, Black people spend money a lot of times on things that we don't need, with money that we don't have, for people, spending from people that we don't really like, trying to impress people we don't even know. And that seems to be the issue, is that we don't invest our own money into our communities. We don't invest our own money into ourselves when it comes to thinking further along ahead. Don't think about the sneaker right now, like Noah was saying. I think Oren was saying it too. Don't think about the sneaker right now that's in front of you. Think about what your children are going to have in the future. Think about that. Invest in something that's going to be in a long-term run. Now, that goes, I'm getting off in a tangent because that kind of goes into the financial literacy piece. And right now, like I said, at the same time, you want to be conscious and say if you don't need it, don't spend it. So that's one thing when it comes to financial literacy. And definitely, I'm eager and definitely on the edge of my seat, wanting to know more and more and just soak up the knowledge that Noah has definitely presented on this call. Another thing that we need to soak up is that what Oren is speaking about statistics and incarceration, about how the Black men and the Black prisons are being filled up with us. Well, that is true. And we keep hearing these numbers over and over again, constantly and constantly. And throughout time, we see these numbers increase. However, with this COVID-19, we're seeing these numbers increase well, but in a different perspective, right? We're seeing the numbers increase all over within the Black communities. And so, like Noah was saying, it's It's an incident that coincides. That's one thing I don't believe in is coincidences. I don't believe in coincidence. I believe in incidents that coincide. And it's just an incident that our systems are being able to release in these communities during certain holidays, such as Cinco de Mayo, such as Mother's Day, and Memorial Day weekend is coming up at the end. And I didn't even think about that perspective of the fact that Memorial Day weekend is coming up at the end. And I live in an area, right now I'm in North Carolina. I live in an area in North Carolina where it's tourist area. And a lot of individuals wait for this time of the year to come. I mean, it's eating them up not to be able to go out right now because we've been having, today is raining, but we have been having some great weather here, but they can't go out. They can't do that in the third because of the fact that we've been staying inside. And here we are, though, about to get released. And yet it's Memorial Day weekend coming up. And this is when things can spike, though, at the same time, because this is not over. This can definitely spike. I remember going back to March in Florida, when there was a lot of just the usual, as we see every single year, partying, having a good time, spring break. And because things were not shut down at the time, now we have individuals that were partying, having a great time. Now they're going back out, coming from all different parts of the nation, going back out. And then now that can allow this to spike again as well. So that seems to be another catastrophic issue. But yes, definitely as a millennial and as people who are young in general, we have to be conscious of what we're doing, stay home, stay safe. I'm not saying it's easy. I'm not saying this is going to be an easy journey for any of us, because it's not, but we have to use common sense. A lot of this is just common sense. Stay your butt at home. That's all there is to it.
I like how you put it, and each and every one on our broadcast has basically said, if you don't need it, you're not going to die without it. So stay at home. You've got to budget and manage your money properly and stay at home. But also remember, we've given you statistical data. This is not something on some beliefs that we think or something that we think is true. We're giving you statistical data that many of you believe from the news or other places. Well, guess what? This data is coming from the CDC and places like that. Okay, this is real talk. And those of you that have people behind the wall, don't forget, send them a letter, accept their phone call or what have you. I know that times may get hard, but the difference between accepting a phone call or accepting a call saying, hey, this person has suicided, is huge. And you can make a difference. You can be a difference in that. And that's why we came with this special broadcast. Usually my broadcasts are only 45 minutes to an hour, but this has got to get out. And if you haven't shared, liked, and started a watch party, I challenge you to do so, because you know what? You could talk about it all day long. But when you start a watch party, when you share it, when you like, when you subscribe, you're not just talking about it, you're being about it. So I challenge you to be about it and not just talk about it. And I want to thank every one of you that have come on. You've had things to share. Our viewers, we so appreciate you. And some of you, we were not able to get down to you because so many people are streaming in, even in our watch parties are streaming in, and we want to thank you. But if you want to see another broadcast like this really soon, please let us know and put a 5 in the comment below. And if you don't put a 5 in the comment below and you want to contact me directly, go ahead and hit me up at lotusignites@gmail.com, because I've got some fabulous minds in front of you. And if you're just coming in, you have missed a powerful discussion. We started off in our discussion with the remarkable Noah MacArthur, and he talked about how our finances are super important. He gave us the why, the when, and the how, and he gave us some statistical data to look at and look at the numbers of people affected in the African American communities all over the country. But what he also shared was an emphasis on the state of Virginia, where the state of Virginia is not raising the lockdown at this time. And the reason being is because their governor is a physician. So if the physician is not raising the lockdown, that's something to make you go,
Yep.
And then we kicked it back over to Brother Orrin, who talked about the importance of making sure we connect with our people behind the wall, both men and women. Also, he shared with us the fact that social distancing is not happening in the prison systems. He also shared to refrain from going to prison. Why? Because you can go for one thing and end there. Maybe end up there for the rest of your life. So stay away from those negative things that would land you there. And then we brought on the millennial, the magnificent millennial, Milton Gore, who talked from the millennial perspective, because we have a lot of millennials out there who are CEOs, just as Milton Gore is.
Yes.
Who are stepping up to the consciousness of you've got to protect yourself. So if you missed any part of this broadcast, hit the replay, hit the like, hit the share, and hit the watch party. So as we begin to close our broadcast, we want to thank each and every one of you who have come on, who have shared your thoughts and emotions. We greatly appreciate you. And I want to say that so many of you were just there all the way from North Carolina, Philippines, all over the place. I see Phyllis Weaver. Thank you so much. And thank you for saying this was a much needed discussion, because we are talking about things that people don't want to talk about. We are talking about things that people are afraid to talk about. Wow, deep topics people are afraid to have. Well, we just had that topic here on the Lotus Richey Ignites show today. And gentlemen, I want to thank you. I'm going to kick it over to none other than Mr. Orrin Harris for him to give his final words.
Hello again. My final words are these. We have brothers and sisters, men and women behind those prison walls. Who are our brothers and our sisters, our aunties and our uncles, cousins, or what have you? They matter. Our people matter. You know, reach out to them, because as Lotus just said, one phone call or one letter can be the difference from, you know, one of our loved ones committing suicide or just totally losing it. You know, it was hard, and it's rough in there. And for whatever roads that took them there, for whatever reasons that got them there, they're still our people and they're still our loved ones. So if you care about someone that's behind bars, you know someone behind bars, and even if you don't know anyone who's behind bars, maybe you could become a pen pal just to encourage them, to help them, because sometimes all they need is just a little bit of motivation, is someone on our side to show and know that they care, to help change their lives, and they can start working on themselves and getting themselves right, because 95% of all convicts or inmates, male and female, will eventually return to your state or your county. It's what they do, what they learn, and who loves and holds them down while they're there. And lastly, you know, let's just stay safe out here. Let's be smart out here, and let's do the right thing, love each other, and be there for one another as much as possible. And again, Lotus, thanks a lot. Appreciate you much.
You're welcome. Thank you, brother. Have a great day.
All right.
And Milton, you are up next. Please have your last word.
Yes, thank you so much. Again, to everyone on this call, definitely be smart, use common sense. We're going to get through this. It's going to be rough. We're going to get through this. Let's just use common sense. Let's be smart. Let's save. Let's manage. Let's budget. Listen to the statistics. Listen to them. It won't, every storm will be over soon. Every storm comes to an end, and this one will be over soon. All I have to say is to millennials and to all age groups, please be safe. Please think smart. Let's use common knowledge, and we can get through this. Thank you. I think you're muted, Lotus.
I am. Thank you so much. I appreciate you, Milton. You're amazing. And you really drove the point home. And I got to tell you, we got to do it again. So thank you so much and have a great day.
Let's do it.
And next up, we have Mr. Noah MacArthur, our financial strategist, with his final words.
I have to say, thank you, and thank you again. This is one of those topics that we need to have and really have more often. We need to have it more often due to the fact that in America, 61% of American households refuse to have conversations that involve financial literacy. And if 61% of those households are refusing to have these types of conversations, it's no wonder that a lot of our conditions are the way they are. But what took place today, I believe, is nothing short of extraordinary, much needed, much warranted. I look forward to being with you guys again. I trust that you'll take into consideration that tomorrow will take care of itself. We have to do better preparation for what happens today. And knowing that today is here, let's make the best of this gift. That's why it's called the present. So with that said, we look forward to sharing with you more and more. And I trust that you make today the very best part of your day. And we'll see and share with you real soon.
Yes. So I thank you so much, Noah. You really kicked this discussion off. You came in with the fire. You help people understand about their finances and how COVID has kind of hooked onto their finances in every facet of their life, and how they can also maintain while they're still in lockdown, save, and make sure you spend your money wisely. And if you don't need it, stay your butt at home is what you gave us right at the top of the show. So I loved how you did that. So, and of course, we're going to bring you back and we're going to do this all over again. So guys, and I think Milton's oh, there you are. So gentlemen, I really want to thank you so much for being here. I love you guys. And of course, our viewers, we thank you. We thank you for your support. We thank you for sharing, liking, and starting a watch party. But most importantly, stay tuned, because the magnificent millennial, the strategist, the financial strategist, and the CEO of Constance will be back again real soon. And we thank you so much, and we love you, and we look forward to seeing you next time. And here on the Lotus Richey Ignite Show, we want to send a special thanks to Dr. Sandra Brooks, and we send you love and light and prayers in the wake of the loss of your family. Until we meet again, be blessed and stay aware, because that's what this is about, consciousness, so you can ignite and take flight and stay in control of your life. Be blessed.